Welcome and thank you for joining me for another episode of the Jain Irrigation Training Series. And today we're going to be talking about something that I think is extra cool, and it's part of our technology series. And for me, this is one of the true meanings of sustainability, when you can take one product, add it to another, and make the total of the two products even better. And when you start to do that, I think about how great it is not to waste product or waste items you've already purchased, and to be able to use them, add something to it, and make it greater. It's just one of the ultimate things in technology that I really appreciate. So anyway, taking us through this synergy of two products is Jeff Toole. He's the Executive Vice President of Jain Distribution Holdings. Gosh, I've known Jeff now, I hate to admit it, it's been well over 20 years, Jeff, that I've known you. Jeff has always been a thought leader in technology for irrigation in the time that I've known him. More importantly, he is the thought leader for technology for our ag group. And he's done a lot of these webinars. And one thing that you can see or hear when listening to Jeff is he's got a real passion for this subject. He really wants to help growers improve what they're doing. And he's always looking for a way to make an improvement or do something a little bit better. And that's why this is so good today with using Jain Logic, automation, when you're using a Nelson TWIG system. The two go together very well. And excited to hear all about this today, Jeff. So how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited about today's topic, and always an honor and a pleasure to be on with you, Richard. And you're right about the 20 years, boy, that number keeps growing, and boy, we're not getting any younger. That's for sure. And I can't say, I hope I'm getting wiser, but I can't always. My wife would certainly say I can't confirm that you're getting wiser.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting, right? Because we're talking about technology today, and you think when we first met, we didn't have iPhones, we didn't have smartphones back 20 years ago, right? This is a new phenomenon. And then to see all the technology advances in ag and the ag space in the last 5, 7, 10 years, 15 years, it's really been amazing. But before we get into this, Jeff, you and I were talking a little bit before about the season. It's warming up. How are things starting off for your growers out there?
They're starting off pretty, I don't know how to term it, maybe wildly. We've talked about these weather swings, and, as I was mentioning earlier, I've been out in the fields lately, and, I see water out, and it's not because we haven't had rain, which is the case, but it was because we were having frost concerns last week, and then we might break some records this week. So it's a really a tremendous swing. And now, we're looking at possibly some rain on Friday and Saturday. So everybody is off and running, and, the season is upon us for sure.
Yeah, well, if farming wasn't challenging enough, we're starting to see some extra challenges this year. And I know our customers are up for it, but boy, that does make it tough.
Absolutely. Well, I will get going here if you're ready for me to get going. Let's get this.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see this. I've heard about this for a while, and it's really, I think, exciting for the future for Jain Logic.
Absolutely. No, I'm excited as well. So I wanted to start today off with a question that you asked me, Richard. That was, when you and I were talking about this topic, you said, why would we do this? Why are we integrating with Nelson? What are the benefits to the growers? And it really made me think to start the presentation, not just jumping into the technology side of things, but really how should I frame this and answer that question? So that's how I want to start today, and I'll start by tooting Nelson's horn. Nelson's mantra for their TWIG systems has been, for a number of years, has been, reliable, simple, and rugged, valve control. And frankly, I couldn't agree more, personally and professionally. and love working with that team, and really focused on what they do and doing what they do very well and very consistently and reliably. Jain right now has about 250 valves that we're controlling through our C3 telemetry units that are integrated with the Nelson TWIG systems. And, our experience over these last several years on the first generation of TWIGs has been they're extremely robust, and they're really one of the most cost-effective solutions in applications where growers have many valves spread over a large area. And, as you can see on the slide here, the second part of the answer is really what you alluded to, and that's the integration. With the integration, the grower gets access to Jain's industry-leading agronomic software called Jain Logic. We've done webinars on that and talked about it many times. And really, that allows the grower to control and schedule their valves with access to other tools, such as the list we have here: soil moisture, weather, satellite-based ETC, and NDVI data or vigor, tank and flow monitoring, valve status, well level. There's other automations that we can do, like pump control or fertigation control. It also gives access to our powerful irrigation scheduling tool. And then, on the alerting and alarm side of things, pretty much everything that's monitored or controlled can be alerted or alarmed on in the instance of either exceeding certain set points or parameters, or if there's a failure by any of those control points, we're able to alert the grower to that. And I think the key to this is that it's all on a single platform. So, by integrating with Nelson on these projects, I really feel like we're able to bring the best of both worlds. And the primary benefit is really having access to Jain Logic and Nelson's reliable, cost-effective valve control on a single platform. And, today growers are looking, more and more at not wanting to have to log on to 2, 3, 4, 5, in some instances, different platforms in order to, garner the field operation data that they want. So it's really a powerful partnership with two great companies that are focused on providing value and reliability to growers.
Yeah, so Jeff, for those of us who aren't familiar with the Nelson TWIG system, it basically wirelessly turns valves on and off. You can say turn on at 8 a.m. or 8 p.m., turn it off the next day at 8 a.m. And this is what it does.
Correct.
And so, so then when you combine it with, or I like to say add Jain Logic to it, right, it just makes, so now you have all the tools in Jain Logic. Do I have to go back and forth to two screens, or, how hard is it to do this?
I'll show you, and you can see the screen on the presentation today of Jain Logic, and hopefully we'll have some time later and I can do maybe even a little live demo to show the scheduling side of things. But it's super easy. And in today's presentation, as I was creating this, I was a little worried, okay, there's a lot of technical things, and I'll try not to go too deep into that. But frankly, you'll see from, the slides coming up that it really is quite simple and quite powerful. And I think both of our companies, Nelson and Jain, really pride ourselves on keeping things simple. It's one of the things I hear about Nelson. It's one of the things I hear about Jain Logic is don't overcomplicate things. Don't make it difficult, for the grower. I think there's companies out there that are developing ag technology, and the developers get all caught up on complication and how many different data parameters and charts and things. Now we have charts, but again, how we present those charts and the data, we try to keep it as simple as possible and make it so that customers are able to make quick decisions as opposed to having to sift through piles of data.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it or not. A couple days ago, a video came out from an Arkansas test farm. They're growing peaches, And the gentleman there said, hey, I look at my phone. If it's blue, my water's okay. If it's red or orange, I know I need to add water. It's simple.
Right.
I can just glance at it so easily in the field. And he was really happy with that. And I thought, well, that's pretty
Absolutely.
simple.
Absolutely. And of course, we've got our 1211 train that's going to go by here. So everybody's used to that at this point.
Right on time.
Yeah. That, let me go to the next slide. And this kind of frames what we're going to talk about today at a very high level. Nelson has 2 valve control options today. The first generation of TWIG has been around for several years. And then there's the new TWIG V series that is really an extension of the industry standard TWIG. And we've had a really almost since the TWIG came out, we've had experience, with that and using it. And just as I said before, just had great experience. And for growers already using TWIG, Nelson developed the TWIG V so that you do not have to abandon your existing TWIG control as you expand control of new valves using the TWIG V. I won't go into the details of how the 2 generations coexist because that's not necessarily the intent here, but just know that the 2 can coexist. As a matter of fact, one of the examples I'll show today is of a grower just north of us here that has both of these systems in place. And we just tested this system yesterday. So, we know that it will work. And I'll have some pictures and some, hopefully, time to do a live demonstration on that. So this really just shows what we're going to go over today. We're going to talk a little bit about connecting the Jain C3 field telemetry unit to the first generation TWIG system. And there are a lot of those out there today. And then also the new TWIG V wireless automation system. So we'll go through those a bit.
Yeah, that's the part I really like, right? I make an investment in some technology. I don't want to have to just trash it to get the next best, right? A next better thing. This is the combination of the 2. I keep my investment and I make that investment better.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. Before I jump into that, we've talked about, Jain's robust C3 telemetry unit in prior webinars, and there's a ton of information on our jainsusa.com website. But I wanted to take just a minute, just this one slide to orient any of our new viewers today, and really just give a literally probably a minute overview of this. It's really Jain's Swiss Army knife. We've called it that. Others have called it that. It can do a lot of different things. It has both cellular and 900 megahertz radio capability, so it can be configured to be a gateway or a node and set up as a fully functional mesh network on the ranch. It's solar powered as well. It can be wired to mains power where available. And then, as we mentioned, it can be wired directly to a TWIG or TWIG V, the new system. I'll go into more details on how these connections actually take place. And I've already talked about some of these various applications on the former slide, but I did want to point out on this particular slide, you'll see down in the bottom of the list there that the C3 can now directly interface through a Modbus connection to both Danfoss and Yaskawa VFDs. And those are 2 huge names in ag irrigation as far as VFD, variable frequency drive units for irrigation pumping. And so by being able to directly connect to them as opposed to just using a relay to start and stop them, we're actually able to talk with the VFD, pull out various important health parameters from the VFD, as well as establish set points, which would be important, say, for example, if you wanted to run different pressures on different sets. Maybe you've got microjets in one field and drip in another, and you want to use the VFD to supply water to both of those. We can do these things remotely now. So I wanted to just call that out and, you know, toot our own horn a little bit in terms of the C3.
That's really cool to be able to do that because, you know, I've been paying attention to Corey's webinars, even the maintenance. We can see things along those lines too, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's pretty cool. So we'll let's jump into the first generation. So this slide shows a bit more detail than obviously the previous one, but it's really quite simple when it comes to the integration. There's a single RS-485 to RS-232 cable. The technical guys will know what that is. If you don't know what it is, it doesn't matter. Just know that there's a cable that connects the C3 to the Nelson TD200. And then the TD200 is really Nelson's first generation master controller for their TWIG valve control units. And once this connection is established, the TD200 becomes a slave, if you will, to the C3. So we take control, but it maintains all of Nelson's robustness, all the things that we've talked about that make the TWIG system great. And basically, in other words, we're telling the TD200 how to control the valves through Jain Logic instead of the grower doing so, say, through the TD200. The TD200 uses 900 megahertz LoRa radio communications to talk to the TWIG units out in the field. The distances recommended are line of sight, and elevated external antennas can be used as well. In the field, if you want to get up over for longer distances, or if you want to get up over a tree canopy, as that may be a factor. So that's an option. The TWIG units can be ordered to control 1 to 4 valves on this first generation. And then any valve with a 12-volt DC latching solenoid can be controlled. All of our images here, and we certainly support the Nelson valves, and that's how most of these are configured. But I did want to point out, if it's a 12-volt latching solenoid, it will work. The TD200 can control up to 200 valves. Now, on the C3 connection, we can control through the TD200 up to 30 valves. We can't do all 200. We'd have to have multiple C3s. But for most of the applications that we've been involved in so far, 30 valves has been enough. And so that's been just fine. You can see from the diagram that the C3 also uses cellular to communicate to the cloud, and the grower can access the valve control along with all of the other parameters that we discussed via any computer or mobile device that is connected to the internet. So as you can see here, this is really a simple integration that offers the best of what both companies, you know, have to offer. And this is the first generation TWIG. Here's a couple pictures of TD200 installation. The upper left image, you can see the 2 C3 units with a Nelson TD200, and that's in the enclosure on the upper left of the backboard there. In this case, there are 2 C3s because the grower has an on-site weather station. He's got pre and post filter pressure. He has a flow meter that's going through there, and he's controlling the booster pump that's at the site. This particular grower also has a number of other C3 units in the field, along with their TWIG units where they're measuring soil moisture and pressure in the irrigation lines. The bottom picture just shows a TWIG connected to a Nelson valve, just kind of a simple picture, a little bit more of a close-up to give you an idea of what that first generation looks like. And then the image on the right shows a TWIG controlling 2 Nelson valves. And then you'll notice the second box, the second enclosure that's a little higher on the pole set, that has a C3 in it. And in this case, the grower also wanted to monitor soil moisture, multiple soil moisture probes in the field, as well as pressures at both of the irrigation valves. So in this case, you know, you can see true integration there.
Wow, this is pretty sophisticated. I would say that first example that you showed there, top left-hand corner, that's
Right.
like power user. And then bottom would be somebody just starting out, and the third, somebody who's really getting a lot out of their investment in technology.
Absolutely. You know, we're seeing this more and more. I think we used to have to push quite hard to get growers to want to add on additional data sets, if you will. And now I think there is, the growers are building confidence. I think, you know, companies like Jain, like Nelson, that have been around for a long time, are going to be around for a long time. It's really a safe bet, safe investment. We're not going anywhere. Both companies stand staunchly behind their products and their service. So I think in a lot of instances, we're seeing growers, you know, build trust. And with that trust, they want to invest more because they are seeing the value for these, you know, various data points. And it's also an example where one of our philosophies is try to maximize the footprint. If you're going to go out and do an installation and you have open ports, say on a C3, let's find a way to collect data. Let's try to find a way to control something and fully utilize that investment.
Yeah, so Jeff, we've got a question coming in from one of our viewers, and they want to know, you know, how complicated is it to connect that C3 to the TWIG? Do I do it myself? Do I get some help? What's happening there?
Well, I should say technically you don't connect the C3 to a TWIG, but you do connect it to, on the older system, to the TD200, and it is literally one cable. It's one cable. You know, we do those installations, or dealer does, you know, those installations, and it's super simple. There's some programming that happens in the background to configure things, and we take care of all that. But it is as simple as that diagram, you know, that I showed you, where I might show a single cable. Maybe there's 3 wires in that cable, if you wanted to really get, you know, technical. But that's it. It's very simple.
And everything's solar powered. I don't have to get energy here or anything else, right?
Yes, I'm glad you said that. The Nelson TWIGs, the field units, are standard D cell powered. So it's 2 D cell batteries. Nothing fancy with the batteries. They're not, you know, $100 batteries. They can handle standard D cell batteries. They last a year. And, you know, you'll see, I'll show some slides here coming up with the new TWIG V that, you know, gives you some indication on the battery status and what have you. But yep, the C3s are solar powered. And there are solar options with Nelson as well for these applications. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the TWIG V. And this slide is essentially the same as the slide I showed for the first generation, but in this case, the TD200 is replaced by the TWIG V Hub. So you can see right in the middle of the screen, the TWIG V Hub, which is then connected to the C3 by the same RS-485 to RS-232 single cable. TWIG V Hub, it also uses 900 megahertz LoRa radio, very reliable, very robust, and that communicates to the TWIG V valve control units, which you can see on the right side of the screen there. And you know, this by having this hub option, it's an even more cost-effective route for growers. In this case, you know, where before you would have the TD200, which was a more powerful, if you will, controller. In this case, the hub unit is more for communications. So you don't have all of the complexities, if you will, and the power there, which adds up to dollars. So a hub unit would be less than, say, a master control unit. And, you know, we're able to connect directly to that and provide the control there. It's, in this case with TWIG V, it is identical to what I went through on the first slide. All of the control, all of the communications, all of the features within Jain Logic all remain the same. It's the newer technology with the TWIG V. And so pretty straightforward. No major changes there for us on our side. Here's a few pictures of some TWIG V. This is the recent installation, and one of our guys was out there. Bill was out there yesterday. Shouldn't even say one of our guys, should say one of our top guys was out there yesterday, working on this integration and testing. And that's a picture of that the TWIG V integration with the C3. And that on the left picture there, you know, in this case, the grower has both TWIG and TWIG V systems in the field. This is one I was talking about. One of the C3s is controlling the TD200 and the other is controlling the TWIG V hub. And you can see the TWIG V hub right here. I don't know if you guys can see my cursor, but right here in the middle of the screen. And the C3s are also monitoring, controlling a few other parameters at the pump and filter site as well. The other images show what the TWIG V unit looks like installed at the valve. It's very, you can see here, it's very clean, small. Obviously, this is a valve box out in the field. This is one more exposed. This one was courtesy of Nelson. And again, very clean, very easy installation with the Nelson valves here. So
it actually looks like a 15-minute job, truly.
Yeah. It's not. It's you know, I think between Nelson and Jain, we've got this down pretty good. Some of the field guys might argue a little bit, but you know, as we do more of the TWIG V installations, I'll show you a tool here next that really makes the installation easier. These are a couple of really cool and useful tools that Nelson came out with for the TWIG V system. These are screenshots of their phone app that allows very easy and reliable pairing of each TWIG V unit with the hub. That's this image here on the left. And I won't go into the details, but I think, you know, our techs would say the pairing wasn't quite this easy with the first generation. You know, in this case, you don't have to remember serial numbers, write things down, you know, and try to match these up. This pairing process, you're standing right there with the TWIG V, and you're getting the pairing pattern to be able to join, you know, with the hub, and you know exactly what it is. And it just, from what the guys have described, it's been very straightforward. It's done through a Bluetooth connection, you know, with your phone on the app, and makes this super reliable, super easy. The second screen, you can see this one is another tool that once it's paired, you can see the TWIG status, including the radio signal strength in this case, which was excellent. It also is very helpful from a troubleshooting standpoint, being able to see that while you're standing in the field. And in addition to that, you can see here down at the bottom, there's the ability to open and close the valves. Again, I think Nelson had the foresight to think about, you know, making this easy in the field so that the installer, even the grower in this case, could open and close that valve manually, which in a testing case, you're checking that your pairing is there, that communications are good, everything is flowing through the system as it should, and you can exercise the valve, you know, right there. Before, you might have had to go back to the TD200 or do some other process, have two people, you know, one at the valve, one back at the TD200, do these exercises and to verify. So from an installation, a troubleshooting standpoint, these are great new tools. And I think some of our guys are looking forward to, you know, the TWIG V installs.
Well, certainly pairing has gotten easier with almost every piece of technology I'm using today, and
Yes.
it's great to see it there as well.
For sure. So this is just, we're getting near the end here. This is an example of a schedule. It's just a screenshot of a schedule I built yesterday for one of the Nelson TD200 first generation TWIG users. And in this case, you can see I loaded up the north booster pump for the full duration. I am turning on 6 different valves. These are all controlled by first generation TWIG. And then I'm turning on an injection pump in the middle of each one of these sets. So I have an hour of runtime, an hour of injecting, and then an hour of flush, or adding water to push the chemicals down to the root zone. And then I go on to the next set and repeat this process, through all 6 of these particular fields here. I think, Richard, do we have time for me to go do something live? Do we want to take that chance? We didn't rehearse this or talk about it, but should we go for it?
Number one, I wanted to say, boy, this really does look like full automation. I mean, that's really
Right.
amazing that you can do that. We always say live demos are like live animal acts. You never know what's going to happen, but we
Yeah.
can take a risk.
All right, let's try it. Can you still see my screen?
We can. And so we're seeing your dashboard on jainlogic.com right now.
Perfect. So this particular grower is the one we were talking about that has both the TWIG and the TWIG V system. This is the Burns Ranch up in Stockton, California. So just to quickly orient you here, you've got a number of fields. These are your soil moisture probes that are sitting out into the field. Everything in Jain Logic is map driven, so the colors mean something. You mouse over, data will come up and give you various information there. So these are all the soil moisture probes that they have out in the field. This is a pump station that's there. All of the widgets, for the particular field that I'm on, are showing here. So you've got some soil. That's a pump station is one of the default widgets that they have there, alerts, et cetera, et cetera. But really what I wanted to show is not necessarily all of this data. I think we've done some webinars on that. But what I wanted to show was how easily we can, build a schedule. So I'm going to click the automation button, which is going to take me into open up the scheduler and make sure nothing is, we got one in progress right now. Okay. So what I'm going to do is not mess with that because this customer is live. They did give us permission to do a demonstration here, but I definitely don't want to interrupt that schedule. So what I'm going to do is just build a new schedule. And I have a feeling there might be a few people in our audience that are cringing watching me do this, but I'm going to push this out, a couple months, just so maybe what I'll do is let me choose April 1st for April Fool's Days. And I'm going to have this not repeat. And I'm just going to do something, really simple here. I'm going to go down and let me see. Let me grab a pump. Okay. So I'm going to add in the north pump. So just add the pump to the schedule. You'll see, this here. And you see it come up on the screen here. Let me go.
Well, that's really cool that you can visually see that.
Right.
I talk about confirmation that, because
right.
I've learned, naming valves is really an art, and you want to know where they are, but certainly when you see it, that's fantastic.
And I don't know if you can see the highlighting as I move from valve to valve, the field that valve is tied to, highlight. Yeah. So I'm just going to grab a couple of these fields. Let's grab field 5, and I'm going to add that in. So I'm going to open up that valve. And right now it's going to do this the same time. It's going to time the pump with the valve, and there's a default value there. I'm going to tell it, I don't want it to start at the beginning. I want to delay it. I'm just going to delay it by, let's delay it by, I don't know, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, just to give us a little time for the pump to ramp up. And then if I want to extend that time, so the run time right now is for 30 minutes. Let's run this for a couple hours. I don't want to do 2.5 because I'm an engineer and I odd numbers bother me. So we're going to go to 2 hours, and I just want to show how quick this is. I'm going to go in and go to field 6, which is the field just below that. So I'm going to irrigate field 6 immediately following that. I'm going to basically go through the same process. In this case, I'm going to start immediately after the first valve, and I'm going to run. Oh, I won't go through the whole 30-minute thing, so I'll leave that at 2.5 hours. So now we've got two sets running. If I want to go down to the next field, I can add that field in. And again, I'll let it start, right away. We'll run it for a couple hours.
And again, Jeff, you know how many hours it's going to run because you've been given this data, right?
Right.
You pulled this data
Right.
out of your scheduling tool in Jain Logic.
Absolutely. And it'll tell us, at the end. I probably won't save this, but you can see a start and a stop time of when, this is planning to start and when it's going to end with what I have so far. And I was gonna look to see, I'm not as familiar with this customer. And again, okay, so we got an outlet and an injection pump. I'm gonna, let's say we're going to do some injection. I want to do some injection during one of these cycles. So in this case, let me remove that. I want to go down here to the second sequence, and I'm going to add in some injection. It's as easy if I want to run this a little, have the valve open before, I can simply go up here and say delay the start. I'll delay it. Let's just delay it by an hour because I want to hit, and I'm going to run it for an hour. I'm just leaving these default. You can see how easy it is to change these. So now I'm going to run water on this particular set. I'm going to inject for an hour at the end and give myself, whatever this time is here to flush. If I wanted to inject into this particular one, I would simply go and add a second injection time, and the same thing, I would go up here, and instead of starting immediately afterwards, I'm going to delay this by let's delay it by an hour, and I'm going to run for an hour and 10 minutes again, just to be quick on our time here. So you can see, in 5 minutes with explanation, I have set my pump to run. I'm opening, three valves on these 3 fields, and I'm doing some injection in both of them. And you can see how easy that is. You can build these schedules as deep as you want, as complicated, as you would desire to. And then in this case, we can do an audit function. I can save this and come back and rate, this will be set to run in the future. That's how easy it is. And
It really is easy. And we learned right from Eric Olson's nitrogen efficiency presentation last week that you do want to run, you want to get the soil a little wet, add your fertilizer, and then do the flush at the end. I think, man,
absolutely.
that sounds easy, but in practicality, it's tough to do. But you just made it seem really easy.
Yeah, and these, like I said, it's all map based. All of your assets are sitting here. Assets, we call them assets. All your valves, your pumps, your fertigation pumps. If you had a Maisie injector here with a valve to open it, or a booster to run your Maisie, all of that can be automated here and built into the schedule quite simply. So I'm not going to save this just because I don't want to forget and not go back and delete it. But you could save this, and then it would run. It would run on April 1st at that at the start time at 1:35.
Yeah, pretty great that you're able to do that on the fly. I think that's a great example of just how easy it is to do.
Absolutely. So I think I have one more slide here to show and to wrap up. I wanted to just summarize some of the stuff we talked about today. You know, Nelson TWIG and TWIG V valve control is they're very reliable, very simple, very rugged. You know, that's Nelson's mantra, and they're right on with that. Integration with the Jain C3 gives full remote control and scheduling of the valves, along with, you know, all of the other features and functions that we just talked about. I wanted to emphasize that with each C3, you can only control up to 30 valves through either the Nelson TWIG or TWIG V hub in that case. And then one thing that I didn't talk much about, I'll just briefly mention here. One thing that Jain Logic is really good is alerts and alarms. So pretty much anything that we monitor or control, we can alert or alarm on. And what that means is, say a valve failed to open, or let's say something was going on with communications and the communications to the valve didn't occur, the grower would get an alarm. You know, in that case, it would be an email or a text or, you know, a phone call. Something would occur, whichever they would choose, the method, the delivery method that they would choose would happen. Same thing with any of the pressures or pumps. If a pump doesn't start, you can alert on flows, et cetera, et cetera. So it's something that we're really proud of. It's always interesting. So growers get excited about alerts and alarms. And so they want you to set up a lot of them. And then a week or so later, they call and say, please turn some of these alarms off. My phone is blowing up. And it's not that things are going wrong. It's just that they might say, you know, I'm expecting, you know, 600 gallons a minute flow, and alert me if I get, you know, 640 or less than, you know, 560. And, you know, things happen, you know, one of the workers could be out there doing some different things. The flow meter may bounce a little bit when you're filling the pipe, and it doesn't say do that just when it's running. You know, when you set an alert like that, it's going to alert you when that condition occurs, and it's going to alert you every time that condition. You know, so everybody always then kind of spreads it out a little bit, but it's a great function and something that a lot of people use. The last thing I was going to talk about is a webinar special today. We're coming into the season, and we really, you know, are excited about, you know, what we're doing with Nelson. You know, we've had a great run on the TWIG side of things, and now the TWIG V coming out. We wanted to offer a 20% discount on Jain Logic hardware. And this was new. I didn't even tell you about this part, Richard, and throw in 6 months of free subscription for any new customers that integrate their Nelson TWIG or TWIG V system. And, you know, we'll run that offer through May of this year, May of 2022. So give a pretty good window there for people to jump on board that would like to give this integration and see the power that the two companies can provide together can provide. So hopefully that's a good offer, and some of our viewers today want to take advantage of it.
Yeah, it's an amazing offer, Jeff, especially if you consider anybody who's already a Nelson TWIG user. Mm-hmm. If they've got the hardware and everything already installed, this is a no-brainer. This is really generous. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, we're excited. The whole team's excited.
So Jeff, if I want to take advantage of the special offer, how do I do that?
Well, you could contact me. You could go to our website, and, you know, our account managers are there. If you are an existing, you know, customer, you could contact your irrigation, you know, dealer. But I think probably the most expedient way would be to contact me, and I will make sure that one of our account managers gets in touch with you immediately and starts the process.
Yeah, and all they have to say is, I want to take advantage of the webinar special offer from today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, I want to thank you for coming on today. This was really good, really interesting, really helpful. Certainly understand this this relationship a lot better than I ever had before. Yeah. So you made it very clear. The other thing that I really appreciated was, I did like the live demo. Yeah. You really did show how easy it is to set up a schedule, and and to be able to do the fertilizer injector, a portion of that as well. Super simple, super easy. I love seeing that firsthand, right? Because there are a lot of people who talk about it that don't actually show you, because it's maybe harder than it seems. And you definitely showed that.
People are afraid of scheduling, and I'm not sure why. It's really not that difficult, at least for us. So
yeah. So again, well, thank you, Jeff, and I want to say thank you to all the viewers. You can see all our trainings at jainusa.com/trainings, or you can find them wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. I love the fact that people are out there working every day in their trucks, or even with their headphones on when they're working, and improving their abilities in water management, conservation, and sustainability. So thanks to everybody who's doing that as well. We're going to be back on Friday with Jim Loria from Maisie, and he's going to be talking about Leonardo da Vinci and Leonardo's contributions to water management, and where this is really important, I think. And I want to encourage everybody to attend, because it really will help you become a better advocate for water conservation by seeing and learning from somebody who was a genius like Leonardo da Vinci. So again, thanks everybody. Appreciate it. And have a good rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you.